Ghost Recon Wildlands. When I first heard of this game at E3, I was genuinely curious. Not interested, but curious about what this game had to offer. It looked pretty nice graphically and the concept sounded nice, but at the end of the day it always comes down to execution. And after experiencing Ubisoft's last open world game, The Division, for what it really was, it's safe to say that they left a bad taste in my mouth. But nonetheless, I was still curious about the game. I actually missed out on the closed beta they had for this game a couple weeks back, but I made an effort to get a chance to play the open beta this week and finally experience the game for what it was. And boy was I disappointed. If I had to use one word to describe Ghost Recon Wildlands, it would be half-assed. Okay, well that's technically two words, but you get what I'm saying. Now, I just want to preface this by saying that if you watched my video yesterday, you probably saw that I tried to play this game before, but was unable to because of Ubisoft's poor servers.
Bruh.
Now, I'd be lying if I said that didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth, but nonetheless, I tried to look at this game with an open mind. The game just doesn't feel all the way there, and it doesn't feel like much effort was put into trying to make the game great, as opposed to just adding filler content. And I already know what you guys are thinking, it's just a beta, they're gonna fix everything, blah 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 blah, and let's just stop that right now, okay? What you guys need to realize that these companies don't put out betas 2 weeks before the game release. These are PR demos, and that's basically it. What you see here is what you're going to get in the final game. So let's get this beta mentality out of our heads and let's actually talk about the game itself. So let's start off with some pros in the game. First of all, the game looks pretty nice graphically. I'll have to give it credit for that because it does look appealing to the eye. The story does have a nice concept, you know, from what I saw in the introductory missions and cutscenes, the story seemed pretty interesting and had me at least somewhat curious as to what would happen next. So again, credit to them for that. And lastly, the customization as far as your character design is pretty good, but the only gripe I have is that the only hairstyle they can always seem to come up with for a black guy is cornrows. And I mean, it's 2017. Is this really all we see black people with now these days? Come on, Ubisoft. Aside from that, that's really it as far as the pros. I struggle to think of anything else to give it credit for than just that. Moving on to the cons though, overall I'd have to say the missions lack depth and they feel repetitive. Every mission felt like you just go to this place, scout out a place for enemies, you know, mark them with your drone, go in, try to be stealthy, shoot the people, extract the guy or interrogate the guy, and then leave. And then rinse and repeat, and everything's just over and over and over again, and it just does not feel fun. The flight controls and the driving controls feel weird. The driving feels super tight and it makes it really difficult to drive in a straight line sometimes. And the flight controls just feel awkward and they don't feel like they've been finished all the way. Like it feels like they tried to mimic Grand Theft Auto's flight controls as far as the helicopters go, but it was just worse in every way. Like I couldn't even get the helicopter to fly straight. Another thing as far as the driving, every time I would drive a motorcycle, my screen would not stop shaking at every single bump. Like it really kind of made me sick because the screen would just keep on vibrating constantly and kind of glitching whenever I would hit something on the motorcycle.
The hunt starts now. If we want Sueño, we gotta work our way up the hierarchy. First targets are Yuri and Polito. We find the intel, we track them down, we take them out.
Another thing I don't like is the game is in third person, but it switches to first person when you're aiming down sights. To me that just feels kind of weird and doesn't make much sense because every single third person game I've ever played has either stayed third person or had a first person mode that you could switch to completely. I don't really see why they would make it so that the game is in third person but then switches to first person only when you're aiming down sights. I'm not sure if there's a way to disable that or change that, but as it is initially, I just don't like it. And lastly, the game just felt way too easy. Like, whenever I would go to a mission, I would feel very little pressure to get it done right the first time, because I knew even if I messed up on my stealthy approach, I'd be able to kill all the enemies no problem. Now, granted, I was playing on regular difficulty, but still, nonetheless, even on regular difficulty, a game should have some degree of challenge to it, and I just didn't feel it in this game. The AI didn't feel that smart, and I just felt like I could breeze through missions without any worry of failing whatsoever. So I'm gonna have to give it a negative remark there as far as that. I really wish they would up the difficulty on the overall game. So what's my verdict, you ask? Overall, I think I'm gonna be passing on Ghost Recon Wildlands this year. It just doesn't really draw me interested enough to want to even think about purchasing this game. So you guys can play the beta and get your own impressions, but for me, I think I'll be skipping out on it this year. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. I'll see y'all later.